The crystalline spires of New Axiom towered above the Galactic Confederation's capital, their surfaces reflecting the light of 3 setting suns. Within the Grand Council chamber, Admiral Kextel's scales rippled with frustration as he faced the assembled leaders of the most powerful civilization in known space. His cybernetic eye whirred softly as it adjusted to the dim lighting, a permanent reminder of his last encounter with humans. "Distinguished members of the Council," he began, his translator converting his native clicks and whistles into standard galactic common. "I stand before you today, not as a decorated admiral of the Fourth Fleet, but as a witness to humanity's potential for warfare. A potential we gravely underestimate." High Counselor Vexera, her crystalline form catching the chamber's ambient light, leaned forward. "Admiral, while we respect your service record, this council has reviewed the tactical analyses. The humans are centuries behind us in technological development. Their spacecraft are primitive, their weapons inefficient, and their defensive capabilities laughable by our standards." Kextel's tail twitched, a gesture of disagreement that drew murmurs from the assembled representatives. "With all due respect, High Counselor, technology alone does not determine the outcome of war. During the frontier skirmish of Sector 7, I commanded a fleet of our most advanced warships against a single human colony. We expected an easy victory. Instead, we lost 3 dreadnoughts and over 20,000 troops. To primitive weapons," scoffed General Yix, his metallic exoskeleton clicking as he shifted in his seat. "Impossible." "No," Kextel replied, his voice growing quiet. "To innovation, to adaptation, to their inexplicable ability to turn our own technological superiority against us." He activated a holographic display, showing footage from his cybernetic eyes recording. "Observe." The chamber watched as human soldiers, vastly outgunned, used the environment to their advantage. They had somehow modified their primitive projectile weapons to penetrate Confederation energy shields. They had reprogrammed captured combat drones to attack their former masters. Most disturbing of all, they had shown no fear in the face of seemingly impossible odds. "This recording shows only a small colony's defense force," Kextel continued. "Now you propose a full-scale invasion of their homeworld. Earth is not just another conquest waiting to happen. It is a death trap for any force that underestimates its defenders." High Counselor Vexera's crystalline surface darkened, a sign of annoyance. "What exactly are you suggesting, Admiral? That we should fear these primitives? That we should allow them to continue expanding unchecked through the galaxy? I suggest we negotiate. Offer them a place within the Confederation. Their creativity, their adaptability. These could be assets rather than threats." General Yix slammed a mechanical appendage against his podium. "Preposterous. We are the Galactic Confederation. We do not negotiate with primitive species. We civilize them, by force if necessary." Kextel's cybernetic eye focused on the general. "Then you doom us all to learn the hard way. Humans don't think like us. They don't fight like us. Where we see rules of engagement, they see suggestions. Where we see impossible odds, they see challenges to overcome. And most importantly, where we fight to win, they fight to ensure their enemy loses." The chamber erupted in dismissive chatter. High Counselor Vexera raised a crystalline appendage for silence. "Admiral Kextel, your concerns have been noted. However, the decision has been made. The invasion fleet will launch within the cycle. You are dismissed." As Kextel turned to leave, his tail drooping in defeat, he caught sight of the tactical displays showing the massive invasion fleet being assembled. 500 warships, 2 million troops, and enough firepower to subjugate a dozen worlds. Under normal circumstances, it would be an overwhelming force. But humans, he had learned, did not deal in normal circumstances. In the corridor outside, his aide, Lieutenant Zixa, fell into step beside him. "Sir, what will you do now?" Kextel's good eye fixed on the distant stars visible through the chamber's transparent walls. "Prepare our contingency plans, Lieutenant. When this invasion fails, and it will fail, The Confederation will need every advantage it can get to survive humanity's response. As he walked away from the chamber, Kextel couldn't help but remember the words of a human commander he'd encountered during the frontier skirmish. The human had been badly wounded, his position hopeless, yet he had smiled as he activated the charges that would destroy both himself and Kextel's flagship. "The thing about humans," he had said, "is that we don't just fight wars. We revolutionize them." The invasion fleet would learn this truth soon enough. Kextel only hoped enough of civilization would survive to remember the lesson. Fleet Commander Ixura stood on the bridge of the Confederation flagship Eternal Dawn, watching as the massive invasion force emerged from hyperspace at the edge of Earth's solar system. The fleet's arrival was meant to be spectacular, a show of overwhelming force that would cow the primitives into immediate surrender. 500 warships, their crystalline hulls gleaming in the distant sunlight, arranged in perfect geometric formation. "Status report," she commanded, her translucent appendages flowing with patterns of authority. "All ships have successfully transitioned, Commander," her tactical officer reported. "No detection of human defensive systems. Their primitive sensors likely haven't even noticed our arrival." Ixura's surface rippled with satisfaction. Despite Admiral Kextel's warnings, everything was proceeding exactly as the strategic simulations had predicted. Begin the advance. Standard conquest formation. The fleet moved forward with precision, each ship maintaining its exact position in the carefully planned array. As they passed the orbit of the human planet they called Neptune, Ixura allowed herself to feel a moment of pity for these primitives. They would never know what hit them. The first sign that something was wrong came as they approached the asteroid belt. One of the forward scout ships suddenly went dark. "Mechanical failure," the tactical officer suggested. "These rocks are interfering with our sensors." Then another ship disappeared, and another. Multiple contacts. The sensor operator suddenly shouted. Small craft emerging from the asteroids. Thousands of them. Ixura's crystalline form clouded with concern as she watched the tactical display. The humans had hidden an entire fleet within the asteroid belt, using the natural cover to mask their presence. But these weren't proper warships. They were tiny, barely larger than escape pods. "Pathetic," she muttered. "Activate defense screens. Destroy these nets." The human ship started forward, moving in chaotic patterns that defied traditional combat doctrine. The Confederation fleet's automated defense systems struggled to track them. These weren't the organized attack formations they were programmed to counter. "Commander," her weapons officer called out. They're ramming us." Ixura watched in horror as the small human craft slammed into ship after ship, but they weren't simply sacrificing themselves. Each impact was precisely targeted, each explosion carefully calculated. They were using their own ships as kinetic weapons, striking at weak points in the Confederation vessel's shield geometry that shouldn't have been possible for them to identify. "Impossible," she whispered. "How did they know?" The answer came from her intelligence officer. "Commander, analysis suggests they've been studying us. The debris field from Admiral Kextel's previous encounter. They must have salvaged our technology, learned our weaknesses." A series of explosions rocked the flagship as several human craft penetrated their defensive screen. Ixura watched as her perfect formation began to break apart, individual ship commanders panicking and breaking ranks. "Hold position," she commanded. "We still outnumber them. Launch all fighters and—" She never finished the order. A massive energy surge erupted from Mars, the red planet they had dismissed as uninhabited. Hidden installations across its surface powered up, revealing a network of gravitational weapons that the humans had somehow reverse-engineered from Confederation technology. "Full retreat," Ixura ordered, but it was too late. The gravitational beams caught ship after ship, crushing their crystalline hulls, or sending them careening into each other. The perfect geometric formation became a chaos of colliding vessels and expanding debris fields. In the command center on Mars, General Sarah Chen watched the battle unfold with grim satisfaction. "Send in the second wave," she ordered. "Let's show them why you don't bring a knife to a gunfight, even if it's a really fancy knife." The second wave of Earth ships emerged from hiding spots throughout the solar system. Automated drones that had been waiting in powered-down states on comets, asteroids, and small moons. Unlike the first wave of kamikaze strikes, these were equipped with weapons reverse-engineered from the debris of previous alien incursions. Message from the alien flagship, her communications officer reported. "They're requesting terms of surrender." Chen's expression remained stern. "Tell them their surrender will be accepted only if they provide a full technical database of their military capabilities." She paused, then added, "and inform them that any future incursions into human space will be met with significantly less restraint." Back on the Eternal Dawn, Ixra received the humans' terms with a mixture of shock and humiliation. They hadn't just defeated her fleet. They had used the battle to advance their own military technology, treating the entire engagement as a learning opportunity. As she prepared to transmit her surrender, she finally understood what Admiral Kextel had tried to warn them about. The humans hadn't just prepared for this battle. They had turned it into a weapon itself, using the Confederation's own attack as a means to accelerate their technological development. The last transmission she sent to High Command was brief. Admiral Kextel was right. The humans don't just fight wars. They master them. High Counselor Vexor's crystalline form had lost its lustrous shine as she reviewed the devastating reports from the failed invasion. In the 3 standard months since Commander Ixura's surrender, the situation had grown exponentially worse. The council chamber, once a symbol of unquestionable power, now felt like a tomb. "The humans have already replicated our shield technology," the chief science officer reported, his mechanical body humming with anxiety. "Not just replicated, improved upon it. They found ways to modulate the frequencies that we thought were theoretically impossible." Admiral Kextel, recently reinstated as chief military advisor, stood silently in the corner, his cybernetic eye recording everything. They had finally started listening to him, but he feared it was too late. "Show me," Vexra commanded. The holographic display activated, showing footage from a recent skirmish. A small human vessel, clearly retrofitted with Confederation technology, easily penetrated the shields of a superior alien warship. The humans had somehow managed to create shield frequencies that existed in multiple phases simultaneously, something that violated what the Confederation had believed to be fundamental laws of physics. "How?" Vexra demanded. "How are they advancing so quickly?" "They think differently," Kextel finally spoke. "Where we see immutable laws, they see challenges. Where we accept limitations, they see possibilities. But most importantly, they collaborate in ways we never considered." The display shifted to show intelligence footage from Earth. Scientists from different nations, corporations, and institutions were freely sharing their findings, working together in a global effort to understand and improve upon alien technology. There was no hoarding of knowledge, no political barriers to innovation. "We've intercepted their communications," the intelligence director added. "They've created something they call open-source warfare. Every breakthrough, every innovation is shared across their entire species. They're crowdsourcing their technological evolution." Vexra's surface darkened with concern. Surely they must see the danger in such unrestricted sharing of military technology. "They do," Kextel replied. "But they've decided the benefit outweighs the risk. Their motto is, adapt or die. They've chosen to adapt, together." The chamber fell silent as new reports flooded in. Human ships had been spotted near several Confederation outposts, not attacking, but observing, learning. Each encounter, no matter how brief, seemed to advance their understanding of alien technology. "There's more," the science officer added reluctantly. "They're not just copying our technology. They're combining it with their own innovations in ways we never imagined. They've integrated their primitive but effective projectile weapons with our energy systems. They're using our own quantum communication networks to enhance their artificial intelligence systems. We've created a monster, General Yix muttered, his earlier bravado completely evaporated. No, Kextel corrected. We've awakened one. Humanity was always capable of this. We just gave them a reason to accelerate their development. A junior officer burst into the chamber, protocol forgotten in his panic. High Counselor, we've detected multiple human vessels entering Confederation space. They're offering technological trade agreements to our member worlds. Vexra's form nearly shattered in shock. They're what? Several outer worlds have already agreed to negotiations, the officer continued. The humans are offering to share their innovations in exchange for peaceful cooperation. They're undermining our authority not through military force, but through technological diplomacy. Kextel's good eye narrowed. This was a strategy he hadn't anticipated, but it made perfect sense. The humans weren't just adapting militarily. They were adapting politically, finding ways to turn the Confederation's own structure against itself. We have to stop this, General Yix declared. We should marshal our remaining forces and what? Kextel interrupted. Give them more technology to study, more tactics to counter, more ships to reverse engineer. He moved to the center of the chamber. The humans have outmaneuvered us completely. They've turned our attack into an opportunity, our technology into their stepping stone, and now they're turning our own allies into their partners. Vexra's surface rippled with resignation. What are you suggesting, Admiral? We do what we should have done from the beginning. We negotiate, but this time, we're not offering them a place in our confederation. He paused, letting the reality of the situation sink in. We're asking for a place in their alliance. The chamber erupted in protests, but they all fell silent as another report came in. The humans had just successfully tested a new form of faster-than-light travel, one that made the Confederation's hyperspace technology look primitive by comparison. Choose quickly, Kextel advised. The humans are no longer the ones playing catch-up. We are. While the Confederation's High Council debated their response to humanity's rapid advancement, a different kind of war was unfolding in the outer colonies. Captain Maya Rodriguez crouched in the dense undergrowth of Outpost Beta 7, watching as a Confederation patrol passed by. Their crystalline vessels, once considered the pinnacle of military technology, now seemed almost quaint. All teams in position, whispered her comm officer, the sound carried through bone conduction rather than traditional radio waves that the aliens might detect. The humans had learned quickly that conventional military tactics were unnecessary when you could simply change the rules of engagement. Rodriguez smiled. The Confederation forces still moved in perfect formation, still followed their ancient doctrine of warfare. They hadn't learned. They couldn't learn. Their entire civilization was built on the idea of unchanging order. Execute, she commanded softly. Across the valley, hidden human forces activated devices that they'd quietly planted over the past week. These weren't weapons, at least not in the traditional sense. They were environmental manipulators, reverse-engineered from Confederation terraforming technology. The effect was immediate. The valley's atmosphere began to change, becoming more humid. To human observers, it was barely noticeable, but to the crystalline members of the Confederation patrol, it was devastating. Their outer layers began to cloud, their sensory inputs compromised by the microscopic water particles in the air. Status report, the Confederation commander demanded, his translated voice carrying clearly to Rodriguez's position. Sir, our sensors are malfunctioning, one of his troops reported. The environment, it's changing. Rodriguez watched as confusion spread through the alien ranks. They had never considered that their own terraforming technology could be turned against them in this way. Why would they? In their minds, technology had specific purposes, defined roles. The idea of repurposing it for guerrilla warfare was simply not part of their worldview. Second phase, Rodriguez ordered. Hidden speakers throughout the valley activated, broadcasting frequencies that humans couldn't hear, but that played havoc with the crystalline being's natural resonance. It wasn't enough to harm them. That wasn't the point. The point was to demonstrate that humans could affect them in ways they hadn't even imagined possible. "We're being attacked," the Confederation commander shouted, his troops clustering together in defensive formation. But there was no attack coming, no enemy to fight, just the environment itself turning against them. Rodriguez stood, walking calmly out of her hiding place. Her uniform bore no insignia, no markings that would identify her as military. To the Confederation troops, she might as well have been a civilian. "Welcome to Earth's new colony," she announced, her words automatically translated by the device at her throat. "As you can see, we've made some environmental adjustments. Nothing harmful, I assure you. Just uncomfortable." The Confederation commander raised his weapon, then hesitated as he realized Rodriguez was alone and unarmed. "What is the meaning of this?" "This is a demonstration," Rodriguez replied. "You see, we could have ambushed you, could have used our new weapons to destroy your patrol. But that's not how humanity works, at least not anymore. We prefer to educate." As if on cue, the environmental manipulators shifted again. The humidity dropped, replaced by a pleasant breeze. The sonic interference ceased. The Confederation troops visibly relaxed, their crystalline forms regaining their clarity. "Your council thinks they understand warfare," Rodriguez continued. "They think it's about ships and weapons and shield frequencies. But humanity, we've moved beyond that. We've learned that true victory doesn't come from destroying your enemy. It comes from making them realize that fighting is pointless." She gestured around the valley. "This entire colony is now effectively under human control. Not because we conquered it, but because we've changed it. Every rock, every breeze, every microscopic particle in the air now works to our advantage. You don't need armies when you can control the battlefield itself." The Confederation commander's translator crackled as he processed this. This is not warfare." "No," Rodriguez agreed. "This is evolution. And that's something humanity understands better than anyone. We adapt. We change. We transform. Not just ourselves, but everything around us." She pulled out a small device, a communication unit broadcasting on Confederation frequencies. "Your council is currently receiving similar demonstrations on 12 other worlds. We're not fighting you anymore. We're simply showing you that resistance is," she smiled, "environmentally inadvisable." The Confederation troops stood in stunned silence as the implications sank in. Their perfect formations, their advanced weapons, their millennia of military doctrine, all rendered meaningless by humans who had simply decided to change the nature of warfare itself. "You're free to stay," Rodriguez offered. "In fact, we hope you will. There's so much we could learn from each other. But if you choose to leave," she gestured at their ships, "we've taken the liberty of upgrading your engines. You'll find they're much more efficient now." As the Confederation commander struggled to respond, Rodriguez's comm officer whispered in her ear. The council had just received their message. Across 12 worlds, the pattern was the same. Humanity hadn't just mastered alien technology. They had transcended it. The age of traditional warfare was over. Humanity had changed the game entirely. Admiral Kextel stood in the same Grand Council chamber where he had first warned of humanity's potential. But now, 5 years later, everything had changed. The crystalline walls no longer displayed military formations and battle plans, but rather shared scientific discoveries and collaborative projects. Where there had once been war ministers, there now sat representatives from both Confederation worlds and human colonies. His cybernetic eye recorded the historic moment as High Counselor Vexra, her crystalline form gleaming with renewed vigor, addressed the assembled delegates. Beside her stood Dr. Elena Santos, the human representative chosen to lead the newly formed Interstellar Science Coalition. 5 years ago, Vexra began, we stood on the brink of a devastating war. Today, we stand at the dawn of the greatest period of advancement our civilization has ever known. The chamber's holographic displays showed the fruits of human Confederation collaboration. New forms of faster-than-light travel, revolutionary medical techniques that worked across species, environmental technologies that could terraform hostile worlds in months rather than centuries. Dr. Santos stepped forward. "The greatest victory isn't winning a war," she said, her words automatically translated for all present. "It's making war obsolete through innovation and understanding." Kextel's good eye focused on the human scientist. He remembered her as one of the architects of the environmental warfare strategy that had so thoroughly demonstrated humanity's mastery of adapted alien technology. Now she was leading the largest cooperative scientific endeavor in known space. "Our differences," Santos continued, "were never our weakness. They were always our greatest potential strength. The Confederation's stability and accumulated knowledge, combined with humanity's drive to innovate and adapt, has created something greater than either of us could have achieved alone." The displays shifted to show the latest breakthrough, a new form of consciousness transfer that would allow the crystalline beings of the Confederation to experience existence in other forms, while humans could temporarily inhabit crystalline bodies to explore environments that would be lethal to their organic forms. "We didn't just stop fighting," Santos explained. "We transcended the very reasons for conflict. Why fight over resources when we can create them? Why struggle over territory when we can reshape worlds? Why fear differences when we can experience life through each other's existence?" Kextel moved to join them at the podium, his presence requested as the one who had first understood humanity's true potential. "I warned the Council that humans don't fight like us," he said, his voice carrying across the chamber. "What I failed to realize was that this was their greatest gift. They taught us that adaptation isn't just a survival strategy. It's the key to evolution itself." The chamber erupted in harmonious agreement, a mixture of human applause, crystalline resonance, and various other species forms of approval. The old hierarchies of the Confederation had given way to something new, a truly cooperative interstellar society. High Counselor Vexer's form shifted through patterns of optimism as she made the final announcement. "The age of the Galactic Confederation is over. Today we become the United Systems Alliance, a union of equals, bound not by force or tradition, but by our shared commitment to innovation and understanding." In the celebration that followed, Kextel found himself approached by a human military officer he recognized, Captain Rodriguez, the architect of the environmental warfare demonstrations. She smiled as she offered him a small device. "A gift," she said. "It's an upgrade for your cybernetic eye. Not just better resolution or enhanced features, it'll allow you to process visual information the way humans do, to see possibilities where others see limits." Kextel accepted the device, understanding its deeper significance. It wasn't just a technological upgrade. It was a symbol of how far they'd come. "You humans," he said, his translator conveying his amusement, "you never stop innovating, do you?" "Can't help it," Rodriguez replied with a shrug. "It's in our nature. But now it's in your nature too. That's the real victory. We didn't just change ourselves or you. We changed what's possible." As the celebration continued around them, Kextel reflected on how thoroughly humanity had upended his civilization's understanding of power, progress, and potential. They had turned a near-catastrophic war into an unprecedented renaissance, transformed enemies into partners, and reshaped the very fabric of interstellar society. And they had done it not through superior firepower or overwhelming force, but through their uniquely human combination of adaptation, innovation, and an unshakable belief that anything was possible if you were willing to think differently enough. The stars themselves seemed brighter now, filled with possibilities that neither humanity nor the Confederation had imagined before they learned to work together. The future was unwritten, unknown, and for the first time in the Confederation's long history, gloriously unpredictable. That, Kextel realized, was humanity's greatest gift to the galaxy, the understanding that the only true constant should be change itself.